Well, everyone, it's time for us to go ahead and take a look at the iPhone 7 and compare it against the newly released iPhone 14 Pro and see which specific phone you should go and pick up. Now, obviously, the iPhone 7 is way better, so if you want to pick it up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely tell that the iPhone 7 looks a little bit older. I was just kidding earlier. The iPhone 7 is not better. The 14 Pro is definitely the better phone. The iPhone 7 came out back in 2016. And what was very interesting was this was like one of the first brand new iPhones I ever bought at that point, and I was very excited about it because it was just so interesting that they removed the headphone jack, and I wanted to see what the hype was about. And since then, we've kind of gotten used to it. But this iPhone has a 4.7-inch IPS panel. Now it still has thick bezels on the top and bottom, still have this home button, but I love Touch ID and I do wish Apple kept it, but it is what it is, there's nothing we can do about it. Now I started this video at 40%, so 40% battery life, so just kind of keep an eye on this and see how fast it'll go down over time. Now we do have the lightning port at the bottom, which we'll get into in a second, but I generally don't think the display is that bad. It could be way worse, but it is a little bit of a dated panel. 6 years old, it's kind of expected. With something like the iPhone 14 Pro though, it's not even close. This thing has a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and it is substantially better than the iPhone 7. This is easily one of the best panels of this year. Maybe that's a stretch, but it's a very good panel. It gets very bright, it deep blacks. You're also pretty much missing out on all that, bezel that's on this phone, but you also have the dynamic AMOLED display. I said that completely wrong, but I think it's called Dynamic Island, by the way, not Dynamic AMOLED, Dynamic Island. So it is what it is. I think the iPhone 7 is okay looking, but this one looks beautiful for sure. Now for the rest of the phone, and maybe one of the only advantages for the iPhone 7 for the most part, is actually with its thinness. The iPhone 7 is a very thin phone. The 14 Pro is fairly thick, but that's kind of what you're getting nowadays. The camera bump is also much smaller on the iPhone 14 Pro or iPhone 7 than on the iPhone 14 Pro. You have the volume buttons in the same spot. The iPhone 7 has a SIM card tray though, so that is a very big thing to keep in mind. If you're into that, if you still want a SIM card tray, you're going to have that on the 14 Pro. You are not going to be having that on the iPhone 7, or you're going to be having that on the iPhone 7, not on the 14 Pro. But you also have this reflective material on the 14 Pro, which is really nice. You have the lightning ports at the bottom, as you guys can see. And on the back, we have our camera setups and the full glass back that is on the iPhone 14 Pro. Now the 14 Pro has this glass back, but it's also a frosted glass back, which looks and feels so premium. I'm such a fan of how this specific phone holds up, and I think it looks so beautiful in this specific situation. Now we do have that triple camera setup up here. We have that single camera setup right here, and definitely the iPhone 7's back is not that bad looking. It doesn't feel that cheap, but definitely you're getting a way better feeling phone on the 14 Pro. I think that's quite obvious. Now some other things, both these phones have IP certification. I think the iPhone 7 was the first iPhone to bring IP certification, which is very interesting. You also have a wireless charging here. You have MagSafe charging. You have emergency SOS satellite mode, crash detection, dual eSIM support, 5G. You pretty much have every new feature on the 14 Pro. The iPhone 7 is quite a bit dated as of this point, so that's probably like a main thing to keep in mind in this specific situation. So in terms of that, I will definitely tell you the 14 Pro is a way better phone than the iPhone 7. Now in terms of software and longevity, this is actually pretty easy. The iPhone 7 is now officially discontinued with software. So it just got discontinued with iOS 15, which honestly is kind of sad. I think this iPhone could have easily gotten, the next 20 versions of iOS, to be honest. But for this thing ending off with iOS 15, it's actually a pretty big deal. And I made a big deal about it when it first happened. I think we've kind of gotten used to it. This iPhone should have gotten iOS 16, but it's still going to be getting security updates here and there. So I think the latest version is iOS 15.7.1 or something like that. Maybe 15.8 will be coming out as well. So keep that in mind. You're definitely going to be getting a more stable version of software with these security updates, but it is what it is. There's not much we can do about it. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 7 has that Apple A10 Fusion chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 14 Pro has that Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one's the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background, so let's get into it. Phone calls, 3, 2, 1. Okay, definitely the iPhone 7 was slower there. Music, 3, 2, 1. And the 14 Pro, definitely running circles around the iPhone 7 as of this point. We can try something like the App Stores, 3, 2, 1. And you can see again the iPhone 14 Pro substantially faster than the iPhone 7. So scrolling through here, the iPhone 14 Pro has that 120 hertz panel, which looks beautiful. The iPhone 7, is quite a bit slower, so that's definitely what's going to be happening here. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into their cameras. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Let's take a photo. 3, 2, 1. Let's go and open up that photo. For some reason, every time I click it on the 14 Pro, it doesn't open, but I guess we can give that one to the iPhone 7. Mail. 3, 2, 1. Again, the 14 Pro is faster. iPhone 7 a little bit behind. Let's do clock. 3, 2, 1. A little bit of a delay on the iPhone 7. That was quite noticeable. Photos. 3, 2, 1. Okay, definitely very interesting how many pop-ups happen. It's so annoying. As always, we have some third-party applications we can go and open up. So let us get into it. Let's go and get into Facebook. 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone 14 Pro definitely faster. The iPhone 7 definitely wanted to take its time there. So I'm going to thank you. 3, 2, 1. And we can see the 14 Pro is definitely faster here. The iPhone 7 is substantially slower, so that's kind of what's expected here. Snake versus blocks, 3, 2, 1. Again, noticeable delay, so this is really good on the 14 Pro. We're seeing massive differences for sure when it comes down to the performance. So this is going to trickle down into everyday things. Whether you're going through and you're texting somebody or you're trying to open up a random like Instagram or something, you're going to be seeing massive improvements in performance on the iPhone 14 Pro, which is massive. So I will say, I didn't even think iOS 15 was that slow or that, it was a heavy version of software, but I'm really happy that a phone like the iPhone 14 Pro is able to kind of capitalize on it and is able to make it, at least compared to the iPhone 7, a much faster phone. I will say compared to the 13 and 12, maybe even the 11, it is a little faster, but it's not really that big of a deal. But with the iPhone 7 to the 14 Pro, these were half the numbers too. I just realized that. You're definitely going to be getting the faster phone on the iPhone 14 Pro than on the iPhone 7. So let's go and wrap this one up. Now, I will say in the camera department, this is also like another massive, crazy difference. So with the iPhone 7, you're getting a single camera setup. It's just a wide angle lens. With the 14 Pro, you're getting a wide, ultra wide, and telephoto lens on this specific phone. I mean, it's crazy how many more sensors you're getting. Look at how much bigger the sensors are on the iPhone 14 Pro than on the iPhone 7. Now, you're getting 4K on the iPhone 7, but you're getting 4K at 60 on the back of the iPhone 14 Pro and on the front of the iPhone 14 Pro too, which is so awesome. Now, with something like the iPhone 7, I will tell you, this camera, I will say when it first came out, it was probably really good. In this day and age, I mean, it looks kind of average. I mean, it's like for a 2016 phone, I feel like there were other phones I saw in 2016. Maybe the Galaxy S7 came out that year. I feel like that was a really good camera and it still kind of holds up. This one, not so much, at least not for mine. It's fairly grainy. You have like standard video mode, slow mode, and some other things too, like, square mode and panorama mode. It's really not that crazy great of a camera anymore, and that's kind of expected. I will say if you're rocking an iPhone 7 and you're able to get good photos from it, then definitely go for it. But it's not really a camera that I would look at and be like, oh my goodness, yes, this is an example. This is not an example of a phone that's old that has a great camera. I could probably throw that like the iPhone maybe 10 or something like that. With the iPhone 14 Pro, amazing camera. This is a solid phone for sure. This is a very good camera. You're going to be getting a solid camera for sure. 0.5, x zoom there, 15x zoom right there, which is awesome. You have the standard video mode, you have cinematic mode, you have action mode, you have portrait mode. You have so many modes in this phone, it's not even funny. So by far, without bashing the iPhone 7 too much, this is, quite obviously the better camera for sure. Now, I will tell you, in my opinion, the iPhone 14 Pro is by far the better phone in pretty much every single area. You're going to be getting better battery life, better display, better performance. Pretty much everything is better on this phone than the iPhone 14 Pro. Now, like I mentioned, look at the battery life for the iPhone 7. We're at 27%. I'm pretty sure my iPhone 14 Pro is either like 93 or 94%, maybe even 92%. This phone is still there. The iPhone 7's battery life has gone down. This one also probably needs to replace battery. But regardless, the 14 Pro is a way better phone. But I still think the iPhone 7 was a pretty historical phone for removing the headphone jack. And I'm very sad that it got unsupported with software, but definitely if you're going for the 14 Pro, I'd probably recommend it. You can also get a 13 Pro and save some money, but the choice is yours. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.